Hey Reylo fam, this is Jungle Jenna, and I'm back with another video. For this one, I'm doing my interview slash conversation slash podcast with Vincent Vendetta. He was kind enough to do a Reylo fangirl session with me. He was awesome to talk to. He's very knowledgeable, and if you haven't checked his YouTube channel out yet, then I highly recommend that you do. He has awesome Star Wars videos. They're very comprehensive and in-depth. I have 2 more podcast episodes in the works. I'm currently editing those, so you'll have those to look forward to in the future. If you're interested in joining me for a podcast episode, you can contact me via social media, and I'll put the links for those down in the description box. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave below. Again, thank you so much for watching.
Okay, yeah, so in terms of like Reylo, like how did you get introduced to Reylo, or at what point did you start to learn kind of more information about it? Or was it something that you noticed immediately when you saw the movie for the first time?
You know what? It's a little weird because like when I'm researching something, I think I'm really intuitive or smart. I think I can really figure things out like really well, but only when I'm actually like retrying. You know, when I just watch a movie, I don't know why, I don't pick up on anything. I don't know why. So like when the movie came out, like I hated Kylo. Like I liked him as a character. I don't know. Like I hated him after he killed Han Solo. You know?
Yeah.
I've had an argument with somebody. Not an argument. Somebody said, I don't even remember where I was, but they're like, so what do you think about like Kylo Ren, like everything will be turned back to the light? I'm like, he better not. I was like one of those. I was like almost an anti. I was like, I don't care how much he regrets it. He killed Han Solo. You know, I'm not even a big fan of Han Solo, but it's just that he, you know, in that last moment, you couldn't just not kill him. Like, grow up. You know what I mean? Like, what the, like, I was so like, just like, how dare you? Like, you know, and then I didn't really, I could tell that he felt sorry. Not to the extent now, because obviously in the book you really hear, and like if you really look at the face, you know, he's really feels bad about it. And obviously now I forgive him. So I didn't pick up on it at all when I watched the movie. I could tell that Finn and Rey were not going to be together, just because I think I'm like, I can tell when people are friend zoned.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
But or at least that's what it looked like in the movie, and Finn has said that they're not going to be romantic, so he was friend zoned. Yeah, so I didn't pick up on it. The first time I saw a video about it, it was probably just like a Mike Zero, shout out to Mike Zero, or like Many Media kind of video where it's just a little quick little mention of it. I think some of the first stuff I saw was Many Media videos about how they're both filming together in Ireland or wherever it is on Octu, and he was
I remember that video. Yeah,
he made I think a couple of videos about that, like how they're like, oh, they're gonna be filming here for months. They're both on the island together for months, so obviously they don't kill each other, right? And he's done a lot of videos about that, and I plan on talking about that in my next video. But like, maybe those were some of the first videos. And then I just went on from there, and like, so what about you?
Oh yeah, I kind of noticed it like immediately, because like I said, I wasn't really a Star Wars fan you know, prior to seeing The Force Awakens, and you know, so that was like one of the biggest plot twists that came out of the movie. I was like, oh, I guess I'm a Star Wars fan now. Like, and I would consider myself to be like a Star Wars nerd. I totally nerd out, but yeah, so I kind of went into it with very few expectations. I didn't even know that a Star Wars movie, a new one, was coming out until 2 days before it hit the movie theaters. I actually found out from a waiter at a restaurant that the movie was coming out. And I guess for me, like, I like the original movies. I went back and I watched them, and I enjoy them. But for me, like, this new trilogy is kind of my trilogy. Like, this is the one that I feel emotionally connected to. But yeah, I think I noticed Reylo the first time I saw the movie, and because I just remembered thinking, oh, you know, we have a a male villain and we have the female protagonist, the heroine. And normally, like when you have kind of a hero villain dynamic, you have usually it's two people of the same gender. And you know, and if they're the same age, normally it's some kind of sibling rivalry. But I just remember going into The Force Awakens thinking, oh, it's going to be really interesting to see how these two interact with each other, because the times when there has been a villain and a heroine, usually there's some kind of usually there's a difference in their level of attractiveness and also their age. Usually the guy, if he's a villain, is much older and he's kind of monstrous looking,
like Snoke.
Yeah, kind of like Snoke. You know, that's what I was expecting Kylo Ren to look like. And you know, and so you know, and usually like in those situations, there's always a one-sided sexual attraction, usually on the man's part towards the woman.
That's the thing. Everybody notices the sexual subtext to it, but everybody just thinks, they don't think anything of it. They're like, oh, well, this is like one-sided, like it's, and they also think like, oh, they kind of like, oh, I shouldn't be thinking that. It's just like when he says, I won't be seduced, right?
Yeah.
And even like Leia says that, like, no, Snoke, he seduced our son to the dark side. When they say seduced, everybody in the theater thought like seduced, like they're talking about like sexual seduced. Like, no, that's just me being a, you know, having my head in the gutter or mind in the gutter or whatever that phrase is, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I think that's the same thing when they're with the interrogation scene. It's like, oh, this seems like very sexual, right? But they kind of just like stop themselves. They're like, no, it's a bad guy. It's like, I'm just being silly. But no, I think it's actually true. Like,
me, like art is about, you know, or movies or books or whatever. It's about, you know, kind of suspending reality to some degree and creating something that explores a topic or a concept in a way that's satisfying. And for me, Rey and Kylo Ren does not represent an abusive relationship at all. So, you know, I disagree with the antis on that point, but as a story, I think Reylo would be extremely satisfying, and it would explore something refreshing and that I haven't necessarily seen in a love story, in the way that they're kind of structuring it the way that they have.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I think it's actually a really good story for abusive relationships, because they are not in an abusive relationship, but it almost got close, except one thing people need to remember, like, they're not in a relationship at all. Like, they're not, and like they're in a war, you know, like, and people are murdering each other. Just think, okay, even Rey murdered the stormtroopers, and it's like, oh, well, they're stormtroopers. Finn is a stormtrooper. He's a good person. She should. So all the stormtroopers that Rey has killed, they could be just like Finn, good people. You know, nobody cared that he killed Lor Santeca. Yeah, that's just fine. Like, let's be real. These antis, they don't care even a tiny bit that he killed Lor Santeca. They forgot he even did it. He murdered a person in cold blood. Nobody cares, right? Oh, because he's not one of your friends. He's not Han Solo, right?
In my other videos, I talked a little bit about when I was in the Harry Potter fandom, and you know, Harry's parents, James and Lily, have a relationship that's very similar to Rey and Kylo Ren. The main difference is that, you know, both James and Lily are both on the good side, or they're both on the same side. And so, but people look at James and Lily as, oh, they're so adorable, you know, I love their relationship, and they do have a good relationship. But when they first started out, they were not friends. It was a one-sided deal where James was attracted to her, but Lily had this total loathing for him and insulted him. But no, they were very antagonistic-y towards each other, just like Rey and Kylo Ren are. And you know, where Kylo Ren is definitely more gentle in his approach than Rey is towards him. But with Lily, you know, part of her that outward expression of her loathing had to do with this deeper attraction that she did feel towards him, and her kind of suppressing that. And eventually they did get together and had Harry and whatnot. But nobody looks at that, the antagonism in their relationship, as being unhealthy or problematic or abusive. But with Rey and Kylo Ren, even though it's almost the same dynamic, even if the particulars or the particular details about the individual characters are slightly different, it's looked at as completely different because you have two people on opposite sides. And I think with Reylo shippers, I think part of the disconnect is that Reylo shippers didn't watch The Force Awakens and think, oh wow, Kylo Ren mind probing Rey, that's so sexy, that I'm totally into that. No, they didn't think that. They thought, wow, Kylo Ren's treatment of Rey is so completely different from how he treated Poe, how he treated Finn, how he treats the majority of people in The Force Awakens. And so there's a reason for that. And what is that reason? So that's like where the Reylo ship was born, was trying to understand what Kylo Ren's motivations towards, Rey are, and why does he treat her so differently from everyone else. Some of the accusations of abuse and rape and whatnot, there are also double standards in that, because where Kylo Ren is the one solely responsible for being abusive in that scenario, according to the antis, I think it's mainly because he's a man.
I like the rare occasion when in movies a guy is not afraid to fight a girl, and like Mr. and Mrs. Smith is not the best example. Like, they're beating the shit out of each other,
Yeah.
And there's no she's gonna kill me. Like, she's an assassin, Like, you have to fight her. It's like, there's no don't hit a woman. It's like, you don't hit her, she will murder you because she's trying to right now.
I feel like the reason why he's not afraid to fight or challenge her is because he acknowledges that she is strong and powerful, and that she can hold her own in the fight. Even like when he after he interrogates Rey and he goes to Snoke, and Snoke's kind of like, the scavenger resisted you, kind of almost derisively towards Rey, and Kylo Ren responds with, she's strong in the Force, So I liked how he was not only kind of defending himself, but he was kind of defending her honor a little bit too. Like, hey, like, she's a tough chick, man. Listen here, Snoke.
I bet that they originally wanted to say the girl resisted you, hey?
Yeah.
And then they probably changed the scavenger because they don't want people to get upset. But, like, I bet that's really what it was. Like, the girl resisted you, like, yeah. And he's like, she's strong in the Force.
Yeah.
This is, like, the message. What is the message of Reylo? The message is that if you are a woman, right, you get... whoever you become in a relationship with is on your terms, Like, when you are powerful, you are strong, you are able to make your own decisions. The whole point was that she was helpless at first, and then she realized her powers, right? And she was able to then infiltrate his mind, right? And then when they got to the fight at the end, she beat him in the fight, It's like, if she is going to be in a relationship with somebody, it's going to be on her terms, nobody's going to force her to do anything. And that's kind of the whole point. And that's like, it's like literally the exact opposite of abuse. It's
one of the messages that I've gotten from it, because even though it isn't, even though it hasn't been directly stated, I feel like Kylo Ren has a lot of admiration for Rey. I think that he looks at her as being strong and powerful, and he likes that about her. That's one of the things that intrigues him. So, also within, I guess the message that can be taken from that is that you can be a strong woman and have the person you're in a relationship admire you for that and like that about you. Just like with Han and Leia, Han loved the fact that Leia was so feisty and strong, and that she could hold her own. That's what made him love her. And so I think I see the same with Kylo Ren and Rey.
So this is there's a very subtlety to this moment when they are finding the Force together, which is very telling.
Yeah.
I saw a GIF on Tumblr or something where Kylo Ren makes like a facial expression.
Yeah.
When she's like, doing that, and it's the exact same facial expression that Rey does the second that Kylo Ren gets in her mind.
Yeah.
So I think, and I guess that's what these people have thought too, right? Or that's where I got it from, these whoever posted on Tumblr or whatever it was, is that in that moment when they're finding the Force together, she is going into his mind. And that's how she got so powerful, was that she learned to, you know, she kind of like took some of his abilities. Just like Pablo Hidalgo said on Twitter, that the way that she learned the mind trick, you know, if it isn't because of her grandfather, Obi-Wan Kenobi, is also because she learned it from Kylo Ren when she was infiltrating his mind, or probing his mind. So I feel like she was also probing his mind on the cliff as well.
Yeah, because I remember seeing that Tumblr post too, and because they do make the exact same facial expression with him going into her mind and then vice versa, and one of the things too about like the Jedi mind trick, I don't think that I've ever seen this on Tumblr before or anything, but this has just always been something that I've kind of wondered about briefly. But in the interrogation scene, you know, there's a part where he said, you know, the map, it's in there, you know, I've seen it. And then he said, and now you'll give it to me. And when he says, and now you'll give it to me, it cuts to kind of a side profile of him where it's focusing more on his face. And the way that he says it, it almost kind of made me feel like he was almost trying to use a Jedi mind trick on her to maybe, so that maybe he didn't have to use that much, you know, maybe that he could make the process of getting the map from her easier than it would be to knock her around the way that he did with Poe. And I kind of wondered if maybe because he was trying to use that on her in that moment, she picked up on that when she was going into his mind, and that's kind of where she learned it from, when she used it directly after with the stormtrooper. I don't know if that's true or not, but I've just always thought that when I watched that scene.
I never picked up on that. You're probably right. I was just thinking about like how much people would be against Reylo even more if he would have treated Rey the same as he did Poe.
I know, seriously.
If he threw her head back against a metal platform, she was screaming in pain and blood all over her face, then maybe they would have a case, you know?
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, it'd be a little weird us trying to say like, yeah, they're gonna be in a relationship. They still could be though, because again, that is war. And they're fighting, and she does way worse to him at the end of the movie, slashing his face open, right? But, you know, it still would have been but yeah, he doesn't do any of that.
Oh,
he doesn't hurt her at all.
Yeah, I mean, if he had treated her the same way that he did with Poe, then it would just be a totally different ball game. Or even, like, I sometimes like to point out, like, well, what if, you know, because sometimes people will kind of brush off the way he treats Rey as like, oh, you know, that's nothing, you know. But what if he had been like that with Poe? You know, what if he had used the Force to make Poe fall unconscious, and then what if Poe fell into his arms and Kylo Ren bridal carried Poe back to his personal ship or whatever, you know, and then Poe wakes up and Kylo Ren's watching him while he's sleeping, and then he takes his mask off for Poe, you know.
I know.
I'm trying to picture it here and I'm trying not to laugh.
I should have said that in the video. I have thought about that. I was gonna say it, but I didn't. But yeah, it's like, imagine if it was reversed.
Yeah,
I don't know if I said it in the video, but I think no, I didn't. I had it in the script before. It was like, if a man was breathing on your neck like he's doing right now, I'm pretty sure you would know that guy's into you. No guy has ever breathed on my neck like Kylo Ren has breathed on Rey's neck. Like, that's a sign.
Yeah, like if you would have had Kylo Ren bridal carrying Poe and then watching Poe sleep in the interrogation room and then breathing all over Poe's neck, I would have been like, okay, forget Storm Pilot. We're gonna have the first gay couple that Star Wars has ever had with Kylo Ren and Poe.
And learning about his memories and how he feels lonely.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, because then, like, if you're thinking, oh, he's going to interrogate Poe, but then the next thing you know, he's dwelling on Poe's memories as a child or whatever, it's kind of like, okay, well, what's going on here? You've gotten a little bit off of track, Kylo Ren, you know? I don't know, I'm going to have to draw some fan art of Kylo Ren bridal carrying Poe now.
And then you can also have him, like, breathing on his neck and stuff. Like, you're so lonely. So afraid
Yeah.
to leave. About the Dark Crystal?
Yeah, I remember watching the Star Wars Connection podcast where they were talking about that, and it was so interesting because I like wouldn't have even picked up on it otherwise.
Dark Crystal, that one I love because I have maybe I like that one the most because I figured out most of that one myself because I saw the Star Wars Connection and I
Yeah.
found like so many more things. I actually think that they've based Star Wars, the new trilogy, off of the Dark Crystal specifically. The assistant director and producer of the Dark Crystal was Gary Kurtz, who was also the assistant director and producer of A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, interesting.
And he left after Empire Strikes Back. Like so he was actually like he was the assistant director. He was like almost like the co-director with George Lucas. He was
Yeah.
on every single set. There's pictures of him with all the actors in every scene we've ever seen. You know, he's there. And
Yeah.
they even talk about like Gary Kurtz and George Lucas splitting up. They said was like watching parents split up because they were both like the parents of the film set. That's what Mark Hamill and all them have said. So he stopped. He didn't want to make a Return of the Jedi because he disagreed with George Lucas on the direction that they were going to go. The person who co-directed that movie was Frank Oz. And Frank Oz does the voice of Yoda. Gary Kurtz, like, got that, you know what I mean? He's bringing people from Star Wars over to the Dark Crystal. Also, originally, the Kyber crystal that's inside of all the lightsabers was originally supposed to harness the Force. That's it. It was not supposed to be in people or in nature. It was supposed to be in the crystals themselves. But George Lucas, and that was Gary Kurtz's idea, or maybe not his idea, but he pushed it. George Lucas said that it was too complicated because they didn't even explain what kyber crystals were, right?
Yeah.
He didn't want to explain the history of kyber crystals and all this, so he just made it. You know, it's everywhere. It's in all living things. But Gary Kurtz wanted it to be in the crystal, and the Dark Crystal is called. I mean, have you seen the movie?
Yeah, I've seen it. It's been a while, but I remember watching the Star Wars Connection podcast when they talked about it, and I thought it was really interesting. So it kind of is making me want to go and rewatch the movie, just because of just these different connections and parallels.
Yeah. So there's a crystal in that movie, right? It's clearly based off of the Kyber crystal, right? And the energy of like the planet basically is in the crystals in a way, right? And the ILM, Industrial Lights and Magic, which is the effects company that makes all of the effects for all of the Star Wars movies, was on also the effects for the Dark Crystal. The entire movie is based off of yin and yang, right? So the Skeksis and the Mystics. So originally there was this one race, this one like godlike race, and they had this crystal that was like magic. And one of them cracked the crystal, and a shard broke off, and their species broke into two separate entities, two separate species, the Mystics and the Skeksis, or the Jedi and the Sith. And one is light, one is dark, one is good, one is evil, right? And the evil ones kind of take over the world, and the Mystics are like confined to a small little area. And there's this elf-like gelfling called Jen. He not Ren or Ben, but Jen. He's supposed to bring the shard back to the Dark Crystal and put it back in the slot or whatever to make it a whole again. And on his way, so he's actually the last gelfling, the last elf-like gelfling, right? On the Earth, right? But he finds out that there's actually one other Gelfling that has survived. There was like an apocalypse by the Skeksis, right? And her name is, can you guess? Do you remember? The girl's name is Kira, and the Gelfling man's name is Jen.
Yeah. That's
Kira
really interesting.
And Ren, Kira and Jen. In the Dark Crystal, Kira actually survived the apocalypse by when her parents hid her inside of a tree.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that like parallels kind of Rey's origins with being abandoned on Jakku, but then in the next movie we see a lot of like the trees.
To me, the biggest plot twist for the next movies right now would actually be that Reylo isn't real. That would blow my mind. I'm like 99.9% sure. What about you?
I'm about 100% sure. Like I'm gonna go the full 100.
Yeah, okay, I'm 100%
like
sure.
At this point, like on me, it would almost take a lot of the meaning, like because when you start to pick up on all of the little hints in the Force Awakens, with Rey and Kylo Ren, it definitely changes your perception of the movie. And though Rey and Kylo Ren only have 2 different scenes together, with all of those little hints along the way and just the interesting things that they do, it's present in almost every aspect of the movie. So if it didn't become canon and they went in a completely different direction with it, it would almost be like, okay, I don't know. I'm gonna have to like go and rethink everything now.
The movie now, the entire movie is The Force Awakens. It is a romance, or not a romance, but like it's about Reylo now. You know what I mean? Like if I rewatched it right now, like maybe that's why people didn't like it before, because it really didn't have a point. It was like, oh, this is the same as A New Hope, and it was kind of true. It was like just like a shell of a story.
Even like when I saw it for the first time, I remembered thinking that up until Rey and Kylo Ren meeting, the movie was really entertaining and it was fun, but I didn't think, like I had no clue even at that point that it was going to be like the first movie out of 3. I just thought, oh, maybe this is just like a standalone movie and it's just supposed to be fun and entertaining. But then, when at the point that Rey and Kylo Ren meet, that's where I felt like the movie really solidified in terms of a story that you could see taking its time to develop over several movies. I've just wondered about, okay, so me having done all of this investigating and this talking about Reylo, will it end up kind of impacting my first experience of seeing The Last Jedi in a negative way, or will it kind of dampen the surprise of Reylo happening? And I just thought that we still have absolutely no idea how it's going to be handled. And I think in some ways that's the interesting part of it. And that's what's so exciting, is that sure, like the presence of their, whatever is going on between them is there in The Force Awakens, but how are they going to carry that out through The Last Jedi?
Well, to be honest, if I was in charge, they would... Okay, well, I think that they are going to, in Episode 8, Rey is going to turn to the dark side because she's going to want to be with Kylo, and maybe this is like a maybe. I think that, and she's going to kind of join him on the dark side, not fully, but like, and not with Snoke, kind of like separately, like both of them together, like kind of like now they're both like gonna. They're like a third party. It's like Luke is one, Snoke is another, Kylo and Rey are the third, right? And I think it might go like that. And then in Episode 9, that's when they both come back to the light, right? Or something like that. Something similar to that. But if I was in charge, they would just turn to the dark side and not come back. And they would be like, that's how I would do it. And it would just be like Hades and Persephone, king and queen of the underworld. And then the movies, the whole thing's over and they kill everybody.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think that'd be so cool. And I've said this since the Rey Palpatine video I made. I am 100% convinced that she's going to have blue force lightning. I think that's going to happen. Maybe not blue, probably blue, but like, you know,
That would be cool.
I think she's going to.
Yeah.
I just see it. Don't you? When you see Rey, I just see her not knowing that she has the ability, right? Because there has to be blue lightning, obviously. Maybe it'll be Snoke or Kylo Ren or Luke. Who knows, right? But I think it's gonna be Rey. Like,
I have read some spoilers about. I can't not be involved in Reylo discussions and watching, you know, the podcasts and stuff without hearing some stuff. But I have heard about the cliff scene between Rey and Kylo Ren. Have you read about that particular scene?
I don't really want to. I know of it.
Yeah.
And Rey maybe falls down the cliff or something. I don't want to know too much about that because, like, I'm already convinced at that point, and also, I don't know. Yeah, because then Ryan Johnson, he ended up posting a picture not that long ago. It was a photo from the set, and it was raining, and it looked like Daisy Ridley was standing on kind of on the edge of a cliff, and her hair was partially down. So everybody was kind of like how did I see
super
that?
jazzed. It was on Tumblr. I'll have to like look for it again because it's probably I reblogged it or liked it or something. So I'll have to like end up linking it to you. But yeah, everybody was freaking out because they're like, "Oh, it's the cliff scene. It's happening." So yeah, like when I'm actually in the movie theater and this is happening, I'm just gonna totally lose it. Like I'm gonna be just going crazy.
I wasn't that into Star Wars, but like The Last Jedi, like I'm almost getting tears in my eyes straight now just thinking about it. Like it's gonna be insane. I'm gonna watch it like 10 times. It's gonna be crazy.
I'm already planning out. I'm gonna watch it. I'm gonna pre-order tickets for when it first comes out, like the first night. I'm probably not gonna do like the midnight release thing because sometimes those things can be kind of wild and people are loud, and I like to. Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Been
wait like
that's been
24 hours or maybe 12 hours or something.
Yeah, because there's like a huge difference between the midnight premiere crowd and it's always fun to go to those, but sometimes I kind of like to just have that experience of, you know, kind of the movie taking or kind of carrying me away. But yeah, so I know I'm gonna see it the first night that it comes out, and I'm gonna go. I'm already planning on just like watching the hell out of that movie when it's in theaters. So yeah.
It's gonna be crazy. That's for sure.
Yeah. The Star Wars hype is gonna get pretty intense the closer that it gets to this movie coming out.